and I think like to some degree, kind of like as you probably read, I come from like the advertising industries. A lot of the work that I used to do was very much like art direction and like trying to figure out how to make things look very pretty for like the brands that were putting themselves out there. But then like I started jumping more into tech and like building websites and working with startups, and I noticed that like very few people like either put a lot of effort into that or cared enough about that or wanted to invest money in that because they thought they could get it for like really cheap, really quick on like with a freelancer on a weekend, or like their little cousin knows how to do it, or everybody has a cousin somewhere that knows how to use Canva, you know, etc. So to some degree, I think like that makes it so that a a lot of the websites out there are pretty similar because obviously like they follow similar UI and UX patterns, and they kind of like having the, I don't know, like the big CTA at the top right corner of the screen, or like the hamburger menu always in the same place, or all these sort of like patterns that are constant. And then like uh, Linear and like all those other companies kind of like, including Apple, sort of made minimalism sort of the standard of web design or digital design in general. And for some reason, I don't hate minimalism in any way. I think it's good, but it also sort of uh, like it became maybe like a mind virus where everything needs to be minimalist. Everything needs to be sort of like this way, right? And it sort of like propagates in a way in which like you see like a very beautiful website from Notion and you're like, oh, I want to make something like that. So it sort of accelerates the creation of like the sameness in the web. Like everything is starting to look very minimal, very lacking some sort of like heart or soul. Things are very sort of like templatey or similar, and that's happening by many reasons. But first is because you have like the good companies that you want to try to mimic, like the Notions of the world or Linears or whatever. Then you have people that are creating templates so that you can achieve that look faster. So like now you go into Frame or in Figma or whatever, and there's like templates already made for you so that you can keep pushing the sameness of the web out there. And then on top of that, that's not it. But now with AI, like AI is trained on all of this sameness in the internet. So if you ask it to generate something, it's gonna generate something that it's somewhere already existing out there, and it's not something net new. And then on top of that, the AI is going to get trained on the stuff that is getting put out into the world. So it's like a self-recursive loop where we're just kind of like in a hyper acceleration into like the sameness of the internet. And that's sort of like what I feel like my journey is all about. I guess it's about sort of like trying to fight that wave of sameness and try to figure out a way in which like we can rescue these digital places, because there are places in a way like we spend a ton of time in Gmail, or we spend a ton of time inside of Slack or inside of YouTube or whatever. So what can we do to try to like make these spaces some more enjoyable? Because like if you go into like a conference room or like a hospital or an airport and it's all like fluorescent lights, white floors, white walls, you're just like, get me out of here. I'm gonna go crazy, you know? And it's like, that's the web right now. That's how the internet works. And I think like ideally it would be awesome if you could from time to time run into a cathedral on the web, or run into a museum or a gallery, or like places that just feel more unique or interesting to look at, if that makes sense.